one thing? That's 3 holding penalties on one football team in a quarter and a half. That ain't funny.
Hi, this is Justin Waller of the Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
New Year's resolutions. We've all made them. Mine is the same every year. Eat healthier. The eat part usually works out fine. It's the healthier part I forget about. But not anymore, now that I've found the oh-so-chocolatey Built Bar. Built Bars are low-cal, low-sugar, high-protein, high-fiber. Great for keto. Lose or maintain weight while indulging in a yummy treat. At 130 calories, you'll feel like making a resolution every day. Try all 18 amazing flavors. Get yours at BuiltBar.com.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
CBS Sports Radio, your home for all things sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, coast to coast. Great sports talk expected here. CBS Sports Radio.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com. Use promo code LISTEN for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, promo code LISTEN.
Oh, wow, I'm pretty sure that's going to be there it is. Another flag on the play.
Multiple flags on the play. Holding. Offense number 97. That penalty was declined. Touchdown. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense number 22. Penalty will be applied to the kickoff.
This is going to be one of the strangest calls.
That son of a... You playing against Dick this week? Yeah. Could be worse, man. When I played against him, he ejected all my players.
What? Armchair.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe. The family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'm sorry, excuse me 1 second. Hello?
Hi, would you be interested in switching over to TMI long distance service?
Oh, gee, I can't talk right now. Why don't you give me your home number and I'll call you later?
Well, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to do that.
Oh, I guess you don't want people calling you at home.
No.
Well, now you know how I feel.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One time a girl said to me, she goes, "Is sex the only reason you're with me?" Well, that's a misconception. When you're in a relationship, sex is not the only reason I'm with you. It's one of the most important things that makes me not your best friend, but it's not the only reason. I'm with you because I love you. I think you're pretty and you're sweet, and I like being with you. Sex isn't the only reason. There's a lot of reasons. But the bathroom isn't the only reason I bought my house. I'd still be mad if you took it away from me. If I bought my house and half a year later someone ripped my toilet out of the ground and only let me use it once a month, and even then it didn't try really hard, I'd be upset. That sounds like an awful life. You only get to use it once a month. What's the time it complains because you try to pee in it?
Armchair.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Antonio Brown has resolved a civil dispute with former trainer Brittany Taylor, who in a 2019 lawsuit accused the wide receiver of sexually assaulting her. A settlement was reached, but per the agreement, no terms were disclosed. Quote, Antonio and Brittany have been friends for over a decade. Several years ago, they became business partners. Recently, they were involved in aggressive litigation. Having reflected on their relationship, both feel that the time has come to move on. Antonio is grateful for Brittany's excellent training assistance. They are pleased that Antonio is doing so well with the Bucks and has a ring. Their dispute is resolved, and they wish each other continued success. Taylor's attorney was quoted on Wednesday. Antonio Brown knew Taylor at Central Michigan before Brown entered the NFL draft in 2010. And the document states that the two had communication from then until 2017. The National Football League invested the allegations and suspended Brown for the first 8 games of the 2020 season for multiple violations of the NFL's personal conduct policy. NFL schedule day has been announced. The NFL will announce its full 2021 schedule on May 12th. For the first time, each team will play a 17-game schedule in 2021. Each team will still receive only one bye week, even with the expanded schedule. The NFL previously announced that the season will begin on Thursday night, September 9th, and will end January 9th, 2022. The Pro Bowl to be played on February 6th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 56, at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles on February 13th, 2022. James Harden experienced what the Brooklyn Nets are calling a setback in his hamstring rehab and is now out indefinitely. Quote, back to square one, unquote, from head coach Steve Nash. Harden experienced the setback Monday during an on-court rehab session and had an MRI on Tuesday, according to the team's statement. James Harden had missed the last 6 games for the Brooklyn Nets. He last played on April 5th against the New York Knicks. Once again, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving have missed enough games to where they have only played 7 total games with each other, all 3 on the floor. The NBA playoffs is right around the corner. And updating a story from earlier in the week, Seattle Seahawks defensive end Aldon Smith turned himself in to the authorities. Smith was released on $25,000 bond and is scheduled to appear in court on July 14th. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. I was just introduced to the country music artist from 1976, one Terry Bradshaw. I can't unsee the Jambalaya music video. After the show, you must check it out.
I'm starting to wonder how much you're drinking in the morning to be listening to country music as you're waking up. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Oh, Bron James had to take down his tweet because he realized that when he first said what he said, people let him know one thing and one thing only.
You can't handle the truth.
That's right. That's right, LeBron. We're talking about you. We'll talk about that here in a second here on the Armchair Quarterbacks and what he actually tweeted that he took down. I've got the tweet.
I knew it. What guy? That lawyer guy, okay? He totally besmirched me today, and I demand satisfaction from him.
You want him to bang you?
No, Mac, be serious, okay? He slandered me in front of a jury of my own peers, all right? Look what they used to do when that sort of thing happened. Take a look at this picture. What do you see?
I see 2 trannies shooting at each other.
No, dude. They're dueling, okay? These are lawyers settling an argument by dueling it out.
Now, how do you know that the two trannies are lawyers?
Because it's an old book, okay? I don't have to explain everything to you about what I know. I'm trying to get satisfied from this dude, and you're trying to... I'm getting satisfied. I don't care.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man with a cool in his head. Yeah, the armchair.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Mac McGee and Justin Waller. Justin, how the hell are you this morning?
Oh, I'm doing great, Mac. Braves get a big win last night and off a gem of Ian Anderson. So, yeah, much needed. And then my Predators fall in overtime and blow a 4-1 lead with 17 minutes to go in the third period. So it's a little doom and gloom, but I'm still on a high cloud.
I did not realize that. I was locked into the baseball last night. I do know one thing. The Boston Red Sox would mortgage their entire future and trade half their franchise for Ian Anderson right now. He's had 2 starts against the New York Yankees and has dominated them in both. And went into Yankee Stadium this time and put the screws on them. We'll get into the Braves here in a second. While everyone was kind of watching sports and whatnot, did you happen to catch this tweet by LeBron James that he took down? And I'll get into why he took it down in a second. But did you catch this?
I did. I saw the reports of it. I'm not on Twitter. I didn't see it live, but yeah, I saw what he wrote and what he took down.
So we'll get it. So let me read that off to everyone real quick, so everyone knows what the hell is going on with Bronny Bron. Per usual, he basically talks out of his ass, and he gets half the information, and he can say what he wants, but he didn't have all the information. And so then he said he was taking it down, and I'll get to that in a second. The first tweet was anger in capital letters. Does any of Man, I'll tell you what, his punctuation, I think this guy probably should have went to college. Anger, does any of us any good that includes myself? What? Gathering all the facts and educating does, though. My anger still is here for what happened that little girl. My sympathy for her family, and may justice prevail. And then he's got like his king emoji and heart and, you know, fist raising and high five, although he thinks it's praying. I found out a while back that this emoji here is not supposed to be, it was not intended to be any kind of praying. It's supposed to be a high five. So it's kind of ironic sometimes when people put it up there. He takes it down, and 9 minutes later puts up, I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system. Basically, he backtracks and realizes that he's a dumbass for saying what he said, because if you watch this video, and for people who don't know what we're talking about, that took place up in Ohio, I guess it was yesterday that it took place. By that evening, there were, I mean, it's what always happens. The knucklehead losers go out and hit the street and protest that a cop did his job. This girl comes at this other girl. She's wielding a knife. She's knocked her down. The police come up on the scene, and as the officers are there telling her to knock it off, I won't go word for word because, you know, this is live radio. She then turns to another girl and starts swinging a knife, and I mean viciously. Okay, and yelling out that she's going to do harm to this other girl. Okay, I saw these morons answer back on Twitter because there was, when LeBron said, put his second tweet out, then Candace Owens retweeted it or quote tweeted it and said, no, you did it. You took it. He said, when he says the point where he says, I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. She said, no, you took the tweet down because you were wrong, essentially is what she said. And then some people try to fire back and said, just because she said she was going to kill someone doesn't mean she was going to. You got to wait till they actually commit the crime. I mean, what the hell are you talking about? You libtards. So anyways, she's literally swinging the knife when the cop shoots her. And look, I don't like to see harm done to anybody, but if you have to choose between someone wielding a knife at two different people and the person who's got the knife that won't drop the damn knife, even when the police are, Justin, let me ask you this. Cops come on the scene and you're acting a fool. This just tells the difference between us and the animals, right? Aren't you immediately going to straighten up and go, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Everything's cool right here. We're going to put our arms around each other. We're going to, hey, buddy. To keep wielding the knife, you kind of get what you deserve.
Well, I mean, it to me,
nobody deserves to be killed, obviously.
No, but I mean, where's the family of the victim of the young girl that was having the knife, that was being threatened of being killed, whose life was saved by that officer? Why don't we get that one to come out and get that side of the story? And because I'm sure there's some gratitude there for having her life saved. So I don't know, but to your question, I mean, to me, it's common sense. Common sense is a superpower. So I don't know, it's not very common. So why do we call it common sense? I'm going to be compliant and listen, whether I'm right, wrong, mad. I've been in those situations, and compliance is the only thing to do in that situation. I mean, there's a time and a place to get your side of the story out. I mean, you just got to wait for it. And if you're holding a weapon, then you should probably drop it when somebody with a pistol is giving you a command. That's just my take. That's my opinion on it. I don't know. I don't get it, but yes, what needs to happen though, and I'm serious. This officer, it's the "you're next," the direct attack of the officer putting his picture out there, and the "you're next" in response, referring to the Chauvin conviction without all the facts. That someone needs to stand up and hold these superstars accountable for their libel slander that they throw out there.
I mean, he's just gaslighting.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me, but he's got at least over 1 million followers. I'd say it's probably, knowing his stardom, I'd say he's got probably close to a double-digit million, right? I'd say of all the people on Twitter, he's probably got as many followers as anybody does. So he has as much influence as anybody does on Twitter. And when he gaslights like that, I don't see Twitter taking his
And what we know about social media is everybody's feed is different. Mine and yours and everybody else is different. One that is in that world probably doesn't ever see the body cam footage video, so they never get that narrative. So you have just gaslighted a man without what are the ramifications of that for that individual? It just needs to stop. And it's not just this case. We've seen this over and over the past year in this cancel culture. It's got to come to an end, and some of these big names need to be held accountable, and maybe people will think before they hit send.
This is why I'm going to stand by this, LeBron. Shut up and dribble. He does not do his homework, and he just wants to be in the know and get involved and be known as an activist. If you're going to get involved, do your damn homework and realize what you are tweeting. That first tweet, by the way, was so choppy. I would have deleted it regardless, because I'd have been like, ooh, what the hell was that? Maybe I've had too much to drink tonight. He had like half sentences and everything. But in all seriousness, it's funny. I saw that Clay Travis somehow missed the video last summer, where if you did not see it, we talked about it pretty heavily on the show, but where LeBron is holding the Malcolm X book during the interview, and he does this whole diatribe when he's being interviewed about talking about the book, even though it became a running joke last summer that why is it every time LeBron has a book in his hand. He's on page 1, right? Because he was asked about the book. He's, well, I've only had it for a couple of days, so I haven't really read it. He was literally on page 1 when they walk up, like he was definitely doing it for show. And anyways, the whole thing was definitely a look at me phony as hell moment, right? And it amazed me that Travis and Outkick, who normally are all over this kind of stuff, it's usually where I see it first. They missed it somehow. I don't know how the hell I saw it and he didn't see it. I just assumed if you would have asked me blindly, where did you first see that video? I would have guessed that's where I would have seen it, because they normally throw that kind of gasoline on the fire. But he was just absolutely dumbfounded by it. And I was like, good God, I cannot believe that you missed this. And the whole conversation, Justin, if you don't remember, it was while he's being interviewed by the person interviewing him. I don't know who it was because you can't see the person, they're behind camera. But they say his whole answer is and then and I'm and he seems like talking about Malcolm X in his autobiography, right? Or maybe it's a biography. I don't know which one, but that right there just told me all. Back then we saw that last year, and I remember we went on this about for at least a day, probably in a week, because I want to say it was going on during the shutdown of sports. That's all I needed to know about LeBron James, is the fact that he went out there with a prop in his hand so that he could be seen reading a book. And those of us who have read books in our lifetime don't have to carry it around to show, hey, I read this. So, congratulations, man.
Well, I mean, and I think they're getting, it surprised the league hasn't woken up, and I guess it won't under this commissioner, but their all-star game was was that Sunday night? Did they have all-star or skills competition or something on Saturday? Sunday night?
NBA?
Yeah.
When
was their all-star game?
About a month and a half ago.
Oh, it's been that long already? Wow. Missed that completely. But, one of their biggest events, aside from the finals, they're down to 7 million viewers. I mean, there's over 300 million in the U.S., and you only have 7 million TV sets on it. The Baylor Gonzaga game had 17 million viewers. So, I mean, there's going to come a point in time where somebody, the owners or someone's going to have to say, hey guys, we got to focus on sports. We've got to get this politics out of our league. I mean, you can be advocates off the court any way you want, but people are showing that they're just tuning it out, and then you become irrelevant. Then you see stuff like this, and it turns more TV sets off. So I don't know. You would think they'd wise up at some point and separate the two like we've done for many, many years, but that doesn't seem to be the case. They're going to run down this road, and man, it's just unfortunate to see.
Yeah, and with the whole thing with LeBron is, he's never going to walk back the fact that he was wrong. He immediately goes, well, I don't want to bring more hate. Really? When the hell have you been on the side of let's calm down? Anyways, let's go ahead and change gears. I didn't realize it's as late as it was, because I do want to get into Braves country, because they got a big W last night in the Bronx, and
you're in Braves country.
The Atlanta Braves win 4-1 in New York. Ian Anderson, as Justin alluded to a second ago, big time win. Austin Riley, I'll give Justin credit, talking about how he felt like that the bat against Chapman the night before could be turning the corner for him. He goes deep, albeit that home run was essentially meaningless at the time. It is nice to get that extra run in the top of the ninth when you go down to the bottom in New York, because although they're not hitting well, those are a bunch of really good hitters and right-handed hitters. And we have I would say, below average closer, and he got through the mess, but all in all, a big W for the Braves. I am concerned long-term about the back of the bullpen, that if we continue to have to use Yanoa in the starting role, that we are not going to have a right-hander. The good news that we did get out of Braves country is that Martin Chris Martin did begin playing catch Tuesday, but he still's not throwing. So I still think we're at least a month away before this guy's competing in the major leagues. Fried has not started throwing yet. Smiley will be back on Saturday, and they hope that Acuna can get back by Friday. And Soroka still hasn't began throwing either. So we got two of our starters who are not currently in the plans of, in other words, we don't know what their timeline is. But there's one thing that's come out of all this mess of the injuries. First of all, going 3-2 on a road trip, I'll take that any day of the week. The fact that they played in Chicago and in New York is even more of a bonus to me. But you go 3-2 regardless on a road trip in Major League Baseball. I don't care if you go to Pittsburgh and Detroit. If I go 3-2, I'm still going to be somewhat happy, right? But one thing that I think has come out of this, Justin, is we're getting at bats for Arianza. We're getting at bats for Heredia. And I'm starting to think, should Heredia be starting over Pache, and should we just send Pache down to the minors so that he can figure out how to hit the damn ball?
Might as well. I mean, man's come in and played well, played phenomenal. Both of them have. I really been surprised with it. Camargo would be the one. I was surprised that he didn't get worked in somewhere, but I was proud that we didn't have to use it. So, ship him back down if you have to. Keep them both up.
Yeah, I think I'd be hard pressed to take him out. And the thing with Pache is he wasn't hitting a lick to begin with. I get that he's got the defense, but you can't have every guy on your team playing good defense, and that's why you're keeping him up there, right? This isn't the 85 Bears. We can't just play defense and not try to score. And Adrianza, to me, he's perfect in the role of, listen, when everyone gets healthy. I like the fact that Adrianza, you can put him at any single position and give a guy a day off, right? And so he's key to that. And then as far as Heredia goes, he's more of a patient hitter. He does have pop in his bat, but that's not necessarily what you want him there for. You basically just want him to keep the line moving, and you put him at the bottom of the order. I have more faith in him right now than what I have in Pache. I think Pache, I think they might have brought him up too early. I don't think this means that Pache can't be a great MLB player, but I'm starting to think that it should be right around the corner here that minor league baseball is starting throughout all the leagues, right? And so wherever you want to put him in AA or AAA, I think Pache needs to stay down.
I can be talked into that. Their performance justifies it. I mean, Adrianza last night, did you see the bunt? Sacrifice, runners on first and second, no out, lays down down the first base line, and he moves them to second and third, and you come up to Freddie. Well, what are you going to do? You put him on the open base. Now you got your 4-hole, bases loaded, 1 out. Let's play. I mean, that is exactly how the game should go.
And how about, I think something that will go unnoticed, how about that same inning? So they put Freddie on. How about Ozuna grounds out, but he busts his ass down the line and is safe, and that gets you a run.
Yeah.
And I was impressed by that because Ozuna is not the fleece of foot. He's not a turtle by any stretch of the imagination, right? But he is not, he's not Pache. He's not Acuna busting it, but he's also not as slow as he's not Darnode. But the fact that he gave the effort, he created that run with just pure effort. And with that same token, Yankees manager Brett Boone was railed into a conversation about that post game because a couple of his players over the last few games have been noticed to not be busting their butt down the line. And because the Yankees are losing and because it's New York City, that's becoming a thing. That's becoming a big time thing.
One thing I know is Todd Frazier hits my third baseman in the nose with a baseball again. He's going to get some high heat next time he comes in that box. You see that reload tag Riley right in the face?
Yeah.
One hopped it. Yeah.
Yeah, they asked Riley about that in the post game. It was kind of a stupid question because it was innings later, but the sideline report for the Braves asked, I forget her name because I'm not as big a fan of hers as I was the prior, but he said, and how can you explain hitting a home run after just being hit in the face? I'm like, it's not like it was a boxing match. He got clubbed in the face and then turned around and hit a home run. Like he took one on the chin, and that sucks. But it was.
He's not Derrick Henry.
3-4 innings later or something like that. I mean, anyways. That's a typical person in sports who's probably never actually played an organized game, right? Of a real sport, right? She might have. Who knows? I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yes, I do. She might have played in the WNBA, but I'm not going to count that. So I was like, what are you talking about? Because I had to go back and remember what she was looking, because I went back and went to the actual plate appearance. I was like, did he get hit in the face during the plate appearance? And if so, why wasn't he standing on first? Then I realized what she was talking about, getting hit in the face, standing on first innings before. What was that, like the fourth inning, fifth inning, something like that? Maybe even.
I think it was the fourth.
Okay. So we're talking about literally about 2 hours later. So anyways, great win by the Bravos, and we will have Joey join us here in a second. So it's probably a good time to go ahead and jump to break. The Braves are off today. You do have a lot of baseball that is on, and we'll get into that on the other side of the break. We're doing belly up to the bar for the first time in a while, and we've got a little NFL mock draft. Keep it locked in here on CBS Sports Radio. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
For me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
You're riding Morning Shotgun with the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here weekdays, your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
If we actually enjoyed our New Year's resolutions, we'd all have 6-packs, money in our saving accounts, and we'd know how to play the piano. I have to tell you about the one resolution I actually enjoy. It's Built Bar. It's delicious. Oh yeah, it's healthy too. Built Bar is healthier than your favorite protein bar. They're low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, great for the keto diet. Lose or maintain weight while indulging. And with only 4 net carbs and 150 calories, there's no guilt. Visit BuiltBar.com.
This is Sean O'Toole with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Catch me drive time with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and Facebook Live.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in socially distanced dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
I'm 7-0 this season. You auto-drafted. That's what all the great GMs do. They delegate. You didn't do anything. Yeah, I did. I set the cue.
Without fantasy football, what would friends talk about?
I almost wore shorts today. Oh. I was going to do a sweatshirt shorts combo. Switched to pants instead.
Armchair.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
Good night.
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. And engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
You're listening to CBS Sports Radio. We are all sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Strong opinions and your phone calls. Expect it here. CBS Sports Radio.
See,
Now, to me, that button's in the worst possible spot. The second button literally makes or breaks the shirt. Look at it. It's too high. It's in no man's land. You look like you live with your mother.
This is Brett. What are you doing? What are you doing? Just watching the market recap, drinking an import. That is correct. That is correct. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, Brett, who's that? Hey, Chad, pick up the cordless. Chad here. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Armchair.
All right, welcome back into the Armchair Quarterbacks, CBS Sports Radio. Good morning, Mr. Joey Ariola. How are you, sir?
Good to be back. Looking for a sweep for my Cubs today against the Mets. You guys take care of the Yankees. We'll take care of the Mets and play next week.
We will like that heavily. I'm looking forward to that 4-game sweep next week in Chicago. What is happening in the world of sports? Real quick, run over the scores from last night in case you missed it. The Braves won, Cubs won. Blue Jays came back and beat the Red Sox, and Nats over the Cards 1-0. Phenomenal pitch game by Scherzer. Once again, 9 Ks. The Royals came roaring back, down 6-3 in the 7th, I believe. I was watching that game. I think it was the 7th. They win 9-8 over the Tampa Bay Rays. D-backs over the Reds. Phillies beat the Giants. Marlins 3-0. Great pitched game by rookie Trevor Rogers. I don't know if it really counts when you go against the Orioles, but he did get the W. Pirates take the first game of the doubleheader, 3-2 against the Tigers. And the second game, Tigers come back and win 5-2. And then Diamondbacks won. Brewers beat the Padres. And A's Twins was a hell of a game. It was late afternoon. I just happened to put it on as a secondary device, and I started watching it, and that comeback was unfreaking believable. The walk-off, unbelievable game. If y'all didn't see it, the Twins were actually up, I think 12-10 going into the bottom of that inning. They scored 3 runs to win the game, and there you have that. And in the NHL, Blackhawks over the Preds, Wild win, Golden Knights win, and the Canadians win. And so there you have what's happening in the world of sports. Kill that. So Justin, they get a chance back at the Blackhawks in a couple of days. Is that correct? Or did that complete the series?
No, they've got one more game with the Blackhawks. Need to pull it up. I'm not sure if it's tomorrow or Saturday. It is Friday. So tomorrow night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern.
Yeah, it's actually on the Plus at 8 Eastern. So that's good. Why in the world are they televising Bruins versus Sabres?
And then Monday night, they lock horns with the Panthers. So that'll be good for some trash talking on the show on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
They play the Panthers. Okay.
They've got back-to-back games Monday, Tuesday. So.
Okay. So they don't even get the day off. Okay.
I'm wondering if that might be a well, they wouldn't take a whole week off the last week. So at first I was wondering if that might be a fill-in game or something being a back-to-back that late in the season, but I doubt they would have that long of a time schedule off in that slate. So it's probably just regular scheduling.
I guess so. I see it's a Monday, Tuesday, both being played in Bridgestone. Have you been to a game, by the way?
I have not.
Okay. But they do allow some fans in the stands, or
they do. They're opening up. I don't know the capacity figures. They should be up to about 50%. It doesn't look like they're getting that there, but yeah, there's just lot of hoopla and steps you have to do. And if I'm going to be poked and prodded, I'm going to watch it at home on my big screen TV, HDMI. And
are they demanding like vaccination
well
cards or whatever?
You got to check yourself in virtually. They're wanting those if you want to show them, but it's whether you are or not, it's still masked police, and it's just not worth the hassle and the drive for me at this point in time. To each their own. Some go if you want. Have fun.
I mean, I would go to a game, but I don't know if I have to think about
we're socially distanced and all that. I don't see why I have to wear a mask, especially if you've either already had it or you're vaccinated. But that's my opinion. I'm sure Fauci disagrees. He wants me to wear 5 masks. So since I'm not willing to do that, I'll just sit at home, and that's fine. I'm not going to cancel Culture Bridgestone because I disagree with their policy. One, I don't have that much pull or power.
Well,
but
I think most likely what they're doing is they're covering their ass in case of a lawsuit.
They're covering their for Cooper and the mayor of Davidson County.
Well, that and too, but also if down the let's say if they didn't ask you to just put a mask on when you go to the game, then what they could open themselves up to is that later down the road, someone could claim that policy, even though we may not agree with it, they could claim that policy led to the death of a loved one or something. So
they have a virtual check-in process. It's just a little, I don't know. To me, it's a little sketchy, shady. And then, the concert venues is of interest because Ticketmaster is wanting to do the passports. And I don't know if that's going to fly in Tennessee. So I don't know if that means they're going to change venues. I don't know if it's going to go into, yes, for tickets. They want to make sure for events that you're COVID free. I don't know if they're going to do passports or testing, or you've got to show that you've been tested or to attend events through Ticketmaster. So I don't know if this is all a response to that in Bridgestone, because that's obviously the alternate use of Bridgestone Arena is the concert venues and
right.
Music
It makes you wonder how long this is going to go on. Well, let's go ahead. I mean, that kind of started it off there, but let's go ahead and belly up to the bar here. All right, we're going to belly up to the bar. We already got Justin's opinion on Bridgestones, so we won't have to go back over that topic. First one is a little lighthearted one I'm gonna throw at y'all. If you're the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, and everyone's assuming that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence and of course Zach Wilson going 1 and 2, and then the third quarterback San Francisco is expected to draft. It depends on who you ask and what time of day you ask them on whether it's going to be Mac Jones or if it's going to be Fields. There are even some people that still think it's Lance. But anyways, let's just say, for argument's sake, that whoever you have in your head is the third highest quarterback gets taken, right? If you're the Atlanta Falcons with an aging Matty Ice, do you draft the fourth best quarterback, or would you go in the direction of Kyle Pitts? Justin, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts. I'm going to assume that the Jets will ruin another quarterback, and in 2 years I can go get Bryce Wilson if I'm Arthur Smith. I mean, I'm going with Pitts. I still think Ryan can service you for a year, and you've got some options out there that I think you can figure out in free agency. I don't know if you can ever find a tight end like Pitts again. Do the Gronks come around very often? The Kittles, these phenomenal, the Gates. When you find these quarterbacks, the Gonzaleses that you think are going to be like game changers in that role and serve dual purpose, you're blocking tight ends and can be elite pass catchers, and that's the knock on Pitts, is blocking a little, but we know his route running is phenomenal. He's going to be a great receiver lined up anywhere across the field. I don't know how they don't take that selection considering their head coach's background in that position. I don't think he'll pass on that talent. If he has it, now general manager trumps him and does that, then I'd say that's a rocky start for your head coach general manager relationship. But Do you feel enough that Jones or Fields, you're going to take that over a Trask?
Well, let's pitch it to Joey first. Joey, what would you do? Would you get the best quarterback possible at that point when the season starts? It'll be a 36-year-old Matt Ryan, or do you say what Justin says, kind of kick the can down the road, see what you can do with Matt Ryan for 1 or 2 more years, and maybe you draft a quarterback later in the draft, but you want to get the best player available in Kyle Pitts? What say you?
Yeah, I'm more headed the Justin route. I think since they restructured Matt Ryan's contract a little bit to make it a little more team friendly, I think at the number 4 pick, they should probably go Kyle Pitts. Now, my only caveat to that would be is if they really are in love with the quarterback. Now, if you're not really in love with the quarterback, don't just take one to take one. I think in the second round, being an early pick they can maybe work with the guy there and have Matt Ryan start the next couple of seasons. So if I'm Atlanta, I think unless I really love a quarterback, because I always believe if you love your guy, get your guy, I would take Kyle Pitts and then circle back in the second or third round with a project.
Now, let's say real quick, we won't dive into it for long, but what if San Francisco grabs Pitts? What if that's the reason why they traded up? What if they're saying, you know what, we're going to see what we can get out of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? And you're Atlanta. Do you then go quarterback, or are you scrambling trying to trade back because you're planning on going Matty Ice this year and you don't really necessarily think that there's anyone worth a number 4 pick overall if I'm not going to take a quarterback? Justin?
I've got 3 names on my list at number 4. I'm going Pitts, Devontae Smith, or Sewell. Whether he wants to go tight end, or I think you can age outside, and Julio Jones isn't going to be around forever. You've got to replace him too. Go ahead and get a Devontae Smith who's sitting right there if for some reason you don't, or maybe he wants to go the offensive line route and protect Matty Ice, get something for the run game going. But I feel like you're settling for Jones or Fields because you're getting the third best option. And then do you want the third best option at the 4th overall pick? I mean, that's a wasted pick. You're settling, correct? You'd be better to find value later in the rounds and steal a quarterback that fell and get a higher ceiling for a lesser pick.
The only way I say that I wouldn't do that is if my evaluation had Jones or Fields or even Lance rated above Zach Wilson. And so if that's the case, and this is a pretty good quarterback class, you get the third best quarterback rated, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work out for you. But yeah, I mean, I would probably be more inclined if I get stuck with the pick, I'd be more inclined to probably draft Sewell. But if I can slide out of there to someone who may need a quarterback, I would slide a few down in the hopes that one of my guys, maybe even a Devontae Smith, gets drafted later down the road because, he is only 6 feet, 166 pounds. So they're not necessarily sold on him being the elite player that he was in college.
And maybe you go Najee Harris because you do play at the home of the SEC championship, and that dude just walks off 5 touchdowns last time he was in the building. So, I mean, why not just take the hometown guy?
20 years ago, I think Najee Harris is possibly the number 1 pick overall, but the game has changed and no one seems to want to draft anymore as far as running backs that early. Joey, what say you? Would you trade out? Would you stay? The best.
So you said Pitts is gone. I mean, I do like the other options there's so many talented receivers throughout the draft, but especially at the top. If you could trade back and collect more picks, I think if you for example, you trade back with a team like Chicago or New England, let's say, and you get their middle of the round pick, then you can get something later in the draft. I think you could do that as well. I just think at this point in time, now that I think about it, quarterback really shouldn't be the way they go. They still have Matt Ryan. They could get a project later. Either take the best player available, talent-wise, at tight end or receiver at their current pick, or trade back and collect a couple on the back end as well.
Okay, so let me go ahead and switch gears to the next one. Oops, that's the wrong one. Here we go. All right, there's like 4 different sound effects going off at once. Here we go. Pouring the next beer. Let's look at the. Let me pull this up a little bit. This is a lawsuit being launched by a former Virginia Tech female soccer player. Her name is Kirsten Henning. She has filed a federal lawsuit against the Virginia Tech Hokies coach. His name is Charles. I guess he goes by Chugger Adair, claiming the coach benched her and subjected her to verbal abuse, ultimately forcing her off the women's soccer team because she refused to kneel during the national anthem during the 2020 season. So this is like around September, October. Okay. And the allegations claim, so this is a girl that was played the most minutes her freshman and sophomore year. She was evidently preseason all ACC. She had no injury. So the assumption is she was one of the best players, not only at Virginia Tech, but in the conference. Okay. And the lawsuit alleges that on September 1st, a student athlete advisory committee discussed proposals for student athletes to wear BLM COVID masks, BLM wristbands, and shirts during warmups. The soccer team discussed the proposal, and most players supported the idea. Henning claims that Adair supported the proposals and went even further with an idea to replace Hokies on the back of the team uniform with alleged victims. Okay. And Henning went against that. She spoke out against it. She refused to kneel. And because of that, she's saying that she lost playing time and was eventually pushed off the team by the end of the year. So this has now come full circle. I've always wondered when this was going to happen, because you had so many people that were cancel culturing anyone who it's become almost, now it's become to the point where it's only 5 years later where you were being shunned if you stand for the national anthem. So Joey, we'll start with you. That way, if we get kicked off the air, we'll blame you. What say you on these allegations, and do you think she has a case?
I mean, she 100%. I mean, this is ridiculous to me. I could see if people have their personal choice, do as they please, but to do something that we've done for many, many, many years, and not for bad reasons, but for good reasons, and representing the United States of America, I think you should easily be able to stand just like any other year before about 2016, 17, when the woke culture started to take over. So, I mean, I think it's ridiculous to me. I know you guys talked about LeBron earlier. I won't get into that, but a lot of things changing, and you can't do what we've done for what brought this great country together. So it's frustrating to me. And without getting too over the line, that's my opinion on the topic.
Justin, what say you?
I say this is an interesting case because remember, Virginia Tech is one of only 2 public schools in America, major universities, that have a military school inside of it in the Corps of Cadets, Texas A&M being the other one. And as a family member of Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets alumni, I can say that I don't think everybody agrees on this one. So this will be an interesting case because it's going to be heated internally, and I don't know how much actually spills out and this gets settled behind the suit, because you have a major rift on your campus. This drives a line right down it, and you've got to figure this out internally. So I don't know how much we'll see. It'll spew over to that we actually have access to. But I think she's got a case. I think it's petty of the coach. I'm always for coach first in this scenario. I don't agree with the decision, but we'll see how it plays out.
I also saw another note here that I didn't read off a second ago. By September 3rd, players demanded that Adair address the texts that he sent, because he expressed text messages with other players. The texts were converted to screenshots that made it back to the coach, and they demanded that Adair address the text and quote the fact that some of the players were racist and did not support BLM. It's unclear in the article if that was him that called the players racist or if it was the players calling a player racist. But evidently there was some kind of a screenshot taken where Adair is involved, and so that's interesting as well. And her basic claim is that Henning is asking the court to declare that Adair violated her First and 14th Amendment rights. So it's going to be interesting, but we've got to dive into the next topic at hand, which is the NFL draft. Justin, you got the Carolina Panthers. Where are you going today, sir?
Well, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to. The Panthers took Surtain, number 2 overall, and I'm lost on their second pick at this moment, but it was. Oh, I reached quite a bit. Josh Palmer, wide receiver out of Tennessee. So I'm gonna try and right that wrong and get the Panthers some offensive line help up front. I'm gonna take offensive tackle Sam Cosmi out of Texas. With Darno in there, the run game, they need to shore up that offensive line. So we will go there.
Can you do me a favor? Can you spell his last name?
Cosmi.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure if there was a Z involved there.
No, but it is pronounced with a Z, Cosmi.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I like it. I've never been a Panther fan. I think there was a little bit of a rivalry when Jacksonville and Carolina first came in. So that goes back to that. But I am 100% pulling for the Panthers now because I really want to see Sam Darnold do well. Because I want him to prove to everybody, this is nothing against Jets fans. I want him to be able to prove that it wasn't necessarily his damn fault that Adam Gase ruined his career. And so that takes the Washington football team to you, Mr. Joey.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with a son, Asante Samuel Jr., out of Florida State, cornerback. I just think, I saw the Washington
still there.
I thought he was.
He was a first rounder to Buffalo, I believe.
Really? I maybe didn't look that far back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would have thought that he would.
I figure our Florida State guy probably went homer pick right there. Because I only saw it because I was looking the same the other day.
Well, yeah, I'll have to go with my backup pick. I had a couple because I saw the guy on yesterday too. I mean, it was hard to keep. I'll go Talona Hufanga, safety out of UFC, if he is not gone. That's a tough name. His last name is Hufanga, Hufanga, safety out of USC.
You're pretty safe.
How about if I just get you to draft Asante Samuel again? It's easy.
Here's what I've learned, Joey. When it gets this deep in the round, if me and you draft the guys with the hard to pronounce names, it's safe because Mac ain't trying it. He's just going to avoid and go to the next guy up.
Damn right. This ain't my first rodeo. For some reason, I can't even find him on my freaking board.
His first name is Tal.
Talanoa?
Yeah, Talanoa.
Okay. Never mind.
It's a tough one.
All right. Talanoa Hufanga. I've actually heard his name. Okay. I didn't know what in the hell you were trying to say. I was looking for Z's and Q's and everything.
Bamba Talamba. Sorry.
Wow. And after Melifonwu yesterday, we're on a roll.
I'll take Harry Belafonte from the University of. Okay. So that takes me to the Dallas Cowboys. And if you look at the Cowboys, they are in need of quite a few things. I believe we went edge rusher earlier in the draft. And look, what I'm looking at with them is they're going to want to put some points up on the board. And I believe that they are in a perfect position because I don't think we've had many drafted from this position to improve their tight end situation, right? I believe Tommy Tremble of Notre Dame is still out there.
He is.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I've screwed that up because I've read so many things and written so many things. I get confused on what I've read and what we've actually drafted. But Tommy Tremble tight end out of Notre Dame. He's a bit of a playmaker, and I think he would be perfect to add yet another talented player in the third round. What is all, for all intents and purposes, I know we had Brevin Jordan go, but the list that I'm looking at actually has Tremble as the number 2 tight end overall.
Hey, that's the first time we've agreed in this draft in 3 rounds. I've got the same pick, and you actually just stole the New York Giants third round pick. So good job, Dallas. Way to stick it to an in-conference opponent.
Yeah. So that's even a bonus right there. If you can stick it to the Giants as a Cowboys pick, I mean, come on, let's go. Which means he's probably gonna be garbage. But anyways,
I'm getting a road grader to tear up your defensive line.
Where are you going, sir, with the New York Giants in the 76th pick overall?
The New York Giants will go offensive line and sure that up. They're one of the worst in the league last season. First round, I believe they took Waddle. Second is escaping me at this moment. I believe it was a cornerback or defensive player. But I'm going to go Brendan. It's spelled, it looks like Jamie's, but it's Jaime's.
Of course you went and found something difficult.
I told you. Hey, I'm getting the best on the board with the hardest names.
There you go, Justin.
Giants went with a linebacker in the second round. Okay. Yeah. So you're going where? Sorry.
Jaime's. Jaimes. Or Jaime's. Excuse me. I mispronounced it. It's even.
Out of what school?
He is out of Nebraska, offensive tackle. Okay. 3-year starter, 6'5", 298. A little slight on the weight. I don't know if he'll play tackle. Giants need right tackle and guards. They're pretty set at center and left tackle, but this is a guy that plays right tackle. And if he struggles with the outside rush, they could definitely move him into either guard. So he gives the Giants some flexibility and versatility on that offensive line.
Brendan Jameis is what I have. Famous Jameis. Okay. And the 77th pick, by the way, we talked about this yesterday, is forfeited. So they will not have a pick for the New England Patriots. We had to sit there and try to remember what it was. I finally looked it up. And the Cincinnati Bengals, the whole Spygate thing that they were doing a couple of years ago on the sidelines filming their practice, that's why they don't have a third round pick, the New England Patriots. So there you go with that. Justin, what is your walk-off for the day, sir?
Not only does Terry Bradshaw have music videos, Adam Pac-Man Jones does too. Check them out. That's all I can say about that one.
What did you do this morning?
Hey, it's better than Muppet Guy. The music video. Pittsburgh Steelers running back went to the Jets, and I cannot escape.
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, it a lot better than that, buddy. No Muppets popping up on screen. It's amazing.
Pac-Man Jones, I'm assuming that he filmed that video from prison, right? I mean, that's the only thing that I haven't heard of Pac-Man.
It's an undisclosed location.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a great day, gentlemen.
He's going to have a cameo of Derek Chauvin in the background, you know. All right, we'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here to CBS Sports Radio.
I'm so sorry in advance. I walked past this homeless guy and he had a sign that said, "One day this could be you." So I put my money back in my pocket just in case he's right.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Antonio Brown has resolved a civil dispute with former trainer Brittany Taylor, who in a 2019 lawsuit accused the wide receiver of sexually assaulting her. A settlement was reached, but per the agreement, no terms were disclosed. Quote, Antonio and Brittany have been friends for over a decade. Several years ago, they became business partners. Recently, they were involved in aggressive litigation. Having reflected on their relationship, both feel that the time has come to move on. Antonio is grateful for Brittany's excellent training assistance. They are pleased that Antonio is doing so well with the Bucks and has a ring. Their dispute is resolved, and they wish each other continued success. Taylor's attorney was quoted on Wednesday. Antonio Brown knew Taylor at Central Michigan before Brown entered the NFL draft in 2010. And the document states that the two had communication from then until 2017. The National Football League invested the allegations and suspended Brown for the first 8 games of the 2020 season for multiple violations of the NFL's personal conduct policy. NFL schedule day has been announced. The NFL will announce its full 2021 schedule on May 12th. For the first time, each team will play a 17-game schedule in 2021. Each team will still receive only one bye week, even with the expanded schedule. The NFL previously announced that the season will begin on Thursday night, September 9th, and will end January 9th, 2022. The Pro Bowl to be played on February 6th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 56, at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles on February 13th, 2022. James Harden experienced what the Brooklyn Nets are calling a setback in his hamstring rehab and is now out indefinitely. Quote, back to square one, unquote, from head coach Steve Nash. Harden experienced the setback Monday during an on-court rehab session and had an MRI on Tuesday, according to the team's statement. James Harden had missed the last 6 games for the Brooklyn Nets. He last played on April 5th against the New York Knicks. Once again, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving have missed enough games to where they have only played 7 total games with each other, all 3 on the floor. The NBA playoffs is right around the corner. And updating a story from earlier in the week, Seattle Seahawks defensive end Aldon Smith turned himself in to the authorities. Smith was released on $25,000 bond and is scheduled to appear in court on July 14th. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe. The family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
You're one of my favorite comedians. I'm excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited to be here. These chairs are horrific. This is designed for like, I don't know what age. It's not like 6 to 8. Like when you're 11, this is like the perfect size. It's not quite adult size. It's not kid size. I already slouch. It's going to be a bad interview, dude, and I'm blaming the chair.
You've never really written on a sitcom before. If you go through your credits, you hadn't really been on a show before.
Why'd you have to bring that up? Just right out of the gate, he goes negative. There was all these other nice things on your IMDb page I could have brought up, but I noticed this one glaring thing that you've never done, and right out of the gate. Was it because I made fun of the chairs? I'm sorry.
Stars and stripes are so much more than that old piece of cloth on your grandma's porch. It gave us that American dream to be anything that we want to be. It don't matter where you are.
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Don't care if you're black or white or who you love.
Make sure to check out the West Cook Band. It's a song that they sang on it. They were on, I've known West Cook for years. We were actually working in the same restaurant circle together, but his band made it onto Fox News morning show. They performed that show live. I believe it was 2019 because I don't think it was 2020. And really good song. Stand for the Flag is what it's called. But anyways, I just thought that would be appropriate considering the lawsuit that's going on in Virginia Tech. If you missed it on the other side of the hour, female soccer player for the Virginia Tech Hokies is suing the female soccer player coach, as he evidently in some way or form made her feel like that her political beliefs of wanting to stand for the flag was not appropriate, and he eventually pushed her off the team, reducing her playing time, et cetera, et cetera. This is a girl who was preseason all ACC and had led the team in minutes played the previous 2 years and didn't have some injury that was affecting it. She believes that the whole thing was a setup for his political beliefs. And so she also went on to mention that though she believes in the it's the best way to say this. She believes in the fact that Black Lives Matter, but she does not believe in the Black Lives Matter organization. And so that was another part that kind of came to a head with this whole thing. I've always wondered if there was going to be on the other side, and finally someone is pushing back, basically saying, look, you can't make me kneel for the flag. And it abruptly turned into that. And what's been like a year? It's about a year ago. I guess it really came to a head last late summer, early fall. I noticed Joey's making sure he doesn't say much here. So he's
you know where I stand.
He's like, man, you ain't trying to get cancel culture here. Man.
Yeah, I don't want to be the next victim.
We might as well rename our show Cancel Cultured, because that's pretty much all our show has been for the last several years. Anywho, back to the NFL draft, the mock draft. The picks are in for Carolina. Sam Cosmi, the offensive tackle for Texas. Washington went with, I'd like for you to pronounce his name one more time.
Talanoa Hufanga.
Close enough.
Okay.
Defensive back out of Southern Cal. Tommy Trumbull, tight end from Notre Dame, goes to the Dallas Cowboys. And then Brendan, we believe his name might be pronounced Jaimes. We don't know. It's Jaimes. Justin drafted him, offensive lineman out of Nebraska. So, there was a point in time where, when in doubt, you drafted an offensive lineman out of Nebraska. I don't know if I necessarily want to go that route anymore, because they've been so terrible for the last. Joey, you're a younger man. Do you even remember Nebraska being relevant in college football?
Not in it. I mean, I've seen a couple of decent seasons, but not relevancy like you're talking about. No, I do not remember Nebraska being in the upper echelon ever in my life. That I watched in the last 15,
20. What year were you born?
92.
Yeah, you'd have been you'd have been about 10 years old the last time they were actually relevant.
Okay, makes sense then.
They made it to the national championship game. I believe it was 2002. And then were boat raced by the Hurricanes. And honestly, the Hurricanes haven't been relevant. The Hurricanes had a good year a couple years later when they lost to Ohio State in the national title game. Since then, it's been, look, Canes fans don't want to admit it, but it's been 15 years since they've been relevant. Do you even remember Miami Hurricanes being really good?
I bring back memories from the Jeremy Shockey. They had that documentary with the Hurricanes.
I'm not talking about a documentary. I'm talking about, do you remember?
Oh, no, I'm saying it brought back memories of little flashbacks of that type of stuff. But even that was at the borderline of where I start to remember my sports. So very gray area for me still.
Gotcha.
Ken Dorsey, I think, maybe the quarterback.
Because there's always like a running joke there'll be something like to the effect of, and we just won the ACC championship, or we just won the national championship, and it'll be quoted, and then off to the side it'll say things that Miami Hurricane fans have never been able to say on social media. Essentially, social media showed up to everyone's world in 06-07. Miami won the title. I believe it was 02 was their last year, and they were in the title game in 2004. I may not have the exact year right. It might have been the January of, but it's right in that time frame. And you're talking about 3 or 4 years later is when Facebook became known to everyone. It was around, look, I know it was around in 2005, 2006, but you couldn't have access to it because you didn't know about it until it was roughly 2007.
That 2001 game, you're talking Nebraska, they just got pounded. They were down 34-0 against Miami at one point. I'm reading here in 2001.
Yeah. So that was the 2001 season, but that was the 2002 January. Is that right?
Yeah. So that'd be the 2002 January.
Okay.
37-14 they lost.
Okay. And so it was either the next year or the year after that Miami went back to the national title game, and they were upset. The Ohio State game was a big upset. But once again, that's 5 years before Facebook was even really known about nationwide, and Twitter wasn't really known until around 2009-ish, 2010-ish. That's when Twitter kind of took hold. Facebook was a good year or two in before Twitter started getting a following. So yeah, there's that. And of course, Snapchat, none of that crap was around back then.
TikTok.
Yeah. You know, I knew of TikTok 2 or 3 years before I ever got on TikTok because I was in the restaurant business and was working with young kids, and they remember them mentioning TikTok, and it sounded so stupid to me. I couldn't understand why anyone would be on it. And then during the pandemic, I got so bored out of my skull, and I was like, let me see what this TikTok is. How bad can it be? And like 45 minutes later, I was like, man, I got to freaking put this phone down. What the hell, man? This is
getting lost in it.
Just addictive video. Now, I don't know what it was like when they were first trying to tell me about it, but I want to say 2016 is when I first heard about it, maybe 17. These kids, they were working for me, and I remember going, whatever, that's a waste of time. And it is a waste of time, but it was very entertaining during the pandemic. And I still get on TikTok usually about once a day. Sometimes I forget about it, but there for a while, man, I was living on that thing during the pandemic. We had no ball games on. Man, I was looking for anything to make me laugh, and I would just go down the rabbit hole of, you know, this funny video and that funny video, and you know, then you get the political ones that sometimes are informative, sometimes they're entertaining, and sometimes you're like, dude, I've seen this same take 45 times. You know, give it a rest. You got the Chargers pick in the NFL draft. Where are you going with those Chargers?
Yeah, I reviewed the board a few times now, so hopefully I don't retake someone. But I'm going tight end again. After your latest pick, I saw that early in the draft, the Chargers took a couple linemen. I'm going to go Trey McKitty out of Georgia. Georgia tight end Trey McKitty. I think I pronounced that right. McKitty out of Georgia. I think since they lost Hunter Henry, it makes sense to, you know, if they're going to give Herbert a couple linemen as we did in this mock draft, I say we give them a tight end as well.
Okay, University of Georgia tight end, Trey McKitty.
Yep.
Man, that actually sounds like a TikTok name, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
TikTok after dark. And here's a link to see my Trey McKitty. Okay. All right, then. I've got the Minnesota Vikings pick, and the Vikings' biggest team needs are going into the draft. The biggest one is an interior lineman, an edge rusher, offensive tackle. Now, the Vikings, to pull this back up because I do not remember seeing a lot of Vikings picks, and I want to make sure that I've got this right, but nothing worse than me trying to fiddle with stuff. And what are you doing? Reading your diary over there? Talk.
No. I'm looking at the board again as I get ready for, you know, the Raiders picks today. So I just got a couple of guys on my board as well. I mean, when you get into the mock draft round 3, you got to really cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure you got everything aligned there.
Yeah, it gets rough. Okay, so all right, so I was right. They have only had one pick so far in the draft, because this is pick number 79, even though some are referring to 78. It really depends on if you count the forfeited pick. So the first pick, they went with Kwity Paye out of Michigan, defensive lineman. So with that being said, and they haven't drafted any other picks so far, I'm looking at the team needs, and so they essentially got their edge rusher, right? And so now I really think that, look, you're going to want to keep, not only do you want to keep Cousins upright, but you want to make sure that the best player on your team, which right now it's Dalvin Cook by far, right? That he is getting as many holes as he can to run through. I really felt like they did a phenomenal job. The receiving core, I mean, you've got Justin Jefferson, you've got Thielen, you've got some things to work with. I really think that they're going to go into the offensive line mode, and they might do that in the first round. They might be looking for some kind of a move in the third round to go after edge rush. I really believe where Minnesota sits, the best available lineman, offensive or defensive, that's what they're going to grab. Okay. But the guy that I have not seen, I don't believe he's been taken, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Christian Darrisaw still there? Is that possible?
Now I know it would be hard bound. Let me see.
Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. I don't remember him being drafted.
That's the lineman that they're kind of calling a little lazy, but has all the talent. Yeah, Christian Darrisaw went to Washington football team at pick 19.
Okay, so I got to kind of back up a little bit. So let me go with, I thought that was too good to be true.
Yeah, because he's so talented, just some laziness comes into play.
Let me go with Spencer Brown out of Northern Iowa.
Okay.
I think I did see some pretty good tape on him a few weeks ago, and he's been climbing up the board a little bit. The biggest question they have with him is his foot speed, and a lot of teams don't like to draft seniors. They want to draft juniors or redshirt sophomores because they want to get them as young as possible. But Spencer Brown, I think, is a solid pick, and you can't go wrong from Northern Iowa offensive tackle. So we will go there. All right. Where are you going, sir, with the next two picks? I gave him the next two picks consecutively because it's the Raiders have the 80th and 81st pick. And I thought it would be a lot easier for one person to draft in a certain direction than for us to be battling back and forth. So where are you going?
Well, we all know the Raiders defense was abysmal last year, especially that Jets game where the D coordinator got fired. I saw they went a center or in the second round. I'm going to go linebacker out of Alabama, Dylan Moses. He was hurt a couple of years at Bama, so injuries are definitely a concern, but he has all the technical and on the field skills. Again, his name is Dylan Moses.
Oh, yeah.
Linebacker out of Alabama.
I definitely remember him. I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been drafted, but
it's got to be those injury questions. Maybe that's all I could think of.
There's also a good chance we've already drafted him 4 times. So
I keep looking through this thing.
This isn't near as organized as I've done in years past. I'm going to go back to the way I did it a couple of years ago. We did a full mock draft is what we did.
Oh, wow.
And what we did is we did it via, what the hell am I trying to say? Podcast.
Okay.
And so we'll probably go back to that mode because it's easier to do it when you do it all in one sitting and no, dude, I just heard that guy's name 40 minutes ago, as opposed to, did I hear that guy's name 2.5 weeks ago or not? Like it's a lot easier to do that. And if I had like a producer that could do this, jot this down while we're making our picks, it'd be totally different. They could cross-reference it. But until we get to that point, I think we'll go back to the old school. What is your last pick of our mock draft?
The last pick of my mock draft today will be, again, defense. Richie Grant, free safety out of UCF. Richie Grant out of UCF. He's a free safety. I just think the Raiders need defense. I like what they got going on offense. I think, John Gruden can score points. It's just, man, if they got to stop people. And when you're in the division with the Chiefs, Justin Herbert, you got to be able to stop people.
I think what we'll probably do next year is we'll just do a separate broadcast. We'll pick the best day and time for everyone to get together, and we'll just do a YouTube live of it so that we do an entire mock draft, that can be done in an hour and a half or something like that. Because I think it would work a lot better. We just assign people their picks. Maybe we assign people their teams, depending on how many people we get signed up for this. And I think it would work a lot better because I'm sure it's confusing for y'all. It's hella confusing for me.
Oh, and I mean, we just appreciate you doing it and setting it up. But I agree. I think a YouTube video where everyone can go and kind of just watch at one time the draft. Exactly. I think that's a key. But it would be.
I didn't think of it this year, and I also didn't. I wouldn't have thought about how what the best day for everyone would have been, because everyone's schedule is so hunky-dory, but we'd probably have to pick some kind of a weekend day where we just knock it out in the morning time and that way people can just go back and watch the thing whenever they want, right?
Yeah.
So it is fun to do, but man, we got a few more picks left in this draft that we'll get through tomorrow and probably Monday, and then we'll be diving into the first round, which is next Thursday, a week from today. And we do have a new addition. Bobby's going to be joining us Tuesday. Big Arizona Cardinal fan.
Okay.
And younger kid, so even you'll be the old man in the room.
Hey!
He works with Matt, and Matt, who's on Fridays, and he recommended him. And I talked to him the other day, and they sound really knowledgeable and whatnot. So he's done a little bit of broadcasting. So that's always my big fear, is that you get someone on there and they talk well on the television. I mean, on the telephone, and then you get in front of the camera and they're just like
starstruck.
And I'm not going to call anybody out, but we've had that in the past, so we'll just say that. We'll just leave it there. Okay.
Hopefully it wasn't me.
No. I'm talking about prior.
Okay, I got you.
There's just prior people that you're like, dude, I couldn't shut you up the other day, and now you're still going.
Get a damn word out.
Right. I didn't bring you on for me to talk to myself. I hate when I have to talk. I love it when y'all talk. That's what I'm actually looking for every time. I'd love to sit back here and just do this number.
Right after you do the good morning, the best part of the day.
I would love for two of y'all to argue for a half hour, and I finally, hey guys, we gotta get a break. Let's go ahead and get into your Cubs playing a little better. Look, Braves might have took 2 or 3, but I felt like there was life back in the Cubs. And like you're saying, they're going for the sweep today.
Yep, that's correct. At 6:40.
Okay, I was hoping it was a day game.
So was I, kind of.
I love the Cubs day games. It pisses me off when I know it shouldn't, but it pisses me off when they play, especially if they're in Wrigley and they play a night game. I'm just like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Dude, especially in April. Why the hell aren't they playing? Oh, you know what? It's an ESPN Plus game. So I bet you that's got something to do with it.
Probably.
You do have a couple of well, you got to be gambling on this. Pirates and Tigers at 1 at 12:30, Diamondbacks and Reds. You really got some skin in the game to be caring about that junk.
Got to make sure I have some fantasy players.
You don't even have good pitching matchups in these. Jeff Hoffman of the Reds, who's actually started off decently, but he's not a name. And Taylor Widener, same thing, has a good start, but you don't have a name here. Mitch Keller for the Pirates is going to get pounded, although he is going up against the Tigers. So the Tigers can't hit water if they fell out of a boat. Jose Arena is going up against the Tigers. I mean, going for the Tigers. I always felt like Jose Arena never quite got his full potential when he was down in Miami. I'd like to see the kid do well, but it just always seems like this guy is he's like one pitch away from being a solid starter in Major League Baseball. Because it seems like he goes out, he'll try to throw 3 pitches, and 2 of them will be working and the other one won't. And it rotates. It's not always the same thing. It's like, well, one start, he can't find the plate with his fastball. Then the next start, he's painting the black with them, but that day he can't get the changeup to fall. I'd like to see him do well, but I might have to put some skin in the game. Care about that game.
Get some skin in there, otherwise.
Cubs, though, the Mets and Cubs. Where's the pitching matchup on this? Here we go. Trevor Williams versus Joey Lucchesi. That's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, alluded to with the Braves series, I kept babbling on about how the offense has been struggling. In their last,
Wasn't Williams the one that was on the mound when they won on Saturday?
Correct. And the Cubs in their last 4 games have scored 36 runs. So the offense, even though we did lose 2 out of 3 to Atlanta, like you said, took some positives out of that. And really, we've just beat up on the New York Mets. I did not think this would be the case coming into it because they've been playing pretty well to this point. But man,
you also got a break. Did you see that DeGrom asked for an extra day off? So normally you would be facing DeGrom.
So we got a little lucky. That does not hurt.
Right. I believe he's going to pitch tomorrow, but he asked for some extra rest is the short of it.
Anytime you can miss DeGrom, that's a good thing, of course. So let's hope they get the sweep today. Trevor Williams has been up and down to this point. I hope he's up today.
Other news for people who don't know or have not paid attention, the Yankees tonight, Domingo Germán has been recalled from the what do they call it? Training site. And that could be a decent pickup in fantasy. Look, this kid won 18, 19 games in 2019.
Yep.
Was suspended, so didn't play last season. Has not pitched well his first 2 starts, but I still believe the talent's there. The Cubs this weekend, they're going to be at home against the Brewers, and that's actually a much bigger deal.
Yeah, because the Brewers are hot.
Yeah, they're 7-2,
and they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah, they're 7-2 on the road, and they're 11-7 overall. And the Brewers, and of course the Reds have come back down to earth. The Brewers are leading the division.
Yep.
Right now, so that's going to be a huge series. We don't really have time to get into NBA, which is fine because we've got the. We'll touch more on that next week as we get closer and closer to the
playoffs.
The playoffs. But real quick, you weren't on when we first talked about it. What's your take on LeBron's tweet and then untweet?
I mean, it's just too many quick reactions. I've seen a lot of people, not only himself, but like you said, he has such a big following. It's ridiculous to just jump to conclusions. Obviously, let things play out. As we saw the next day, the news.
Such lazy thinking to quickly go to the race card.
Yeah. Well, the news headline into that night is, cop shoots young black girl innocently, and then you wake up the next day and you see that knife going around and all yada yada yada. It's shocking to me how they jump.
You've seen the video, right?
Yeah, I've seen the video.
I mean, she is like, it's not like she's got a knife and she's standing there innocently. She is trying to murder the girl when the cop fires the shot.
Well, and like you said, I mean, what do you have to wait for someone to get shot or be killed or stabbed or something?
She stabbed you, but did she get you really good? Because if not, I can't kill her. What?
It's ridiculous. And for LeBron to jump to a narrative that they're trying to push instead of waiting.
And this is what kills me the most. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
When you get these morons on Twitter and whatnot and Facebook or wherever, they say they didn't have to shoot at her to kill her. They could have just tried to shoot her in the leg. Da, 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 da. You're trying to prevent the person from swinging a knife, A.
Yeah.
And B, most importantly, this is not a video game. Okay? And that's what these idiots who've never been in harm's way don't understand. This is not a damn video game. A split-second decision like that, you're trying to fire to prevent the person. He's not even necessarily intending to kill her, but he's trying to make sure that knife comes out of her hand. He's trying to prevent a murder. And so that's, I'll just leave it at that. But it drives me insane with these people say, could have shot her in the leg. They don't pause and you stand there and freeze the game. And then I'm going to shoot him right in the kneecap.
I'm right there with you.
She's moving. I mean, I'll tell you what, people say, oh, it's a 16-year-old girl. And yes, that's terrible. I hate to see it. Hate to see whatever got her to this point in her life that she's wielding a knife at two women. I don't know what they did to her, or if she just, whatever happened, just plain old crazy. Right.
Yeah.
But whatever was going on in that situation, and it was probably 9 times out of 10, it was a lover scorned, at 16 years old, that's a lot to handle. But go watch the video if you haven't seen it. This is not a normal 16-year-old girl.
No,
this is a hoss, man. All joking aside, she's big enough to where you'd think about drafting her, right? I mean, she is a big girl and she is moving. And I don't really want to talk about it much because I don't want to, for some reason her family, scrolls by. I don't want to bring up bad things, but good Lord.
When you got a deadly weapon, you got to make choices, and they're split-second decisions at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's like Justin said. What about the girls' families of the two girls that were being attacked?
Yep, exactly.
Because I feel like if the cops don't show up, that girl's killing at least one of those girls.
No doubt, and then it doesn't get talked about.
So I was like, I don't even know what was going on. But first of all, where did this knife come from? Is she? I mean, she just had it. I know it was at a residence, but did she just? So I mean, it almost goes to the premeditated part of you had to go run and get the knife to come after him, because y'all weren't like on an episode of Chopped and just happen to have a knife in your hand.
When she came out of that house, she was looking for danger.
I mean, dude, she had a look at her that many of my exes have had at me. That wasn't me, baby. Saw you banging on the sofa. Wasn't me.
Oh, I love it, man.
Time to turn back. Time to get the hell out of here before someone wants us outed. All right. On this date in 2021, armchair quarterbacks were cancel cultured. On this date in 1914, 107 years ago, it's a trip where we get farther and farther past this. Babe Ruth plays his first professional game. He's a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox and pitches a 6-hit, 6-0 win. People, when they talk about the greatest baseball players of all time, they don't understand Babe Ruth was Shohei Ohtani before Ohtani ever was thought about, and he stayed healthy. He played and was elite. Babe Ruth was arguably the best left-handed pitcher in baseball when they converted him to outfield. Also on this date in 2000, so 21 years ago today, the Angels move on. Tim Salmon, Troy Glaus all go deep in the fourth inning against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays hurler Dwight Gooden, and then again homer off of Roberto Hernandez in the ninth. It is the first time in MLB history that the same three players homered in the same inning twice in a game. I also bring this up because I kind of forgot that Dwight Gooden played for the Devil Rays. It's just kind of, if you would have asked me to name the teams he pitched for, I think that would have escaped me. Birthdays. It's your birthday today. This is hard for me to believe. 53 years old today. Bimbo Coles. Happy birthday, NBA guard. So speaking of Virginia Tech, one of the reasons why I grabbed him, he was all Metro Conference 3 years in a row at Virginia Tech, and he was a high draft pick and never really did much in the NBA. He had a decently long career, but he never lived up to the hype coming out of college. So happy birthday, Bimbo Coles. And then also happy 35 years old, Beast Mode. Marshawn Lynch is 35 years old today. Of course, I brought this up about a week or so ago. Tom Brady was trying to get him out of retirement last year.
I heard that from you.
That's That would have been interesting. So if he gets him out of retirement, do they ever sign Leonard Fournette?
Probably not.
Yeah. And do they win the Super Bowl? Probably not. Because I can't imagine a 34-year-old. The Marshawn Lynch that I see is eating a lot more Skittles nowadays than anything else.
Maybe some chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a beast by any means, but he doesn't look like he's in shape. So, man, I'll tell you what, Tom Brady will try to coax anyone out of retirement. He got Gronk. He's trying to get Marshawn.
Antonio Brown might be on his way back. That things are subtle.
Yeah. Jerry Rice might be coming back.
Even the third-string quarterback came back. They got them all back.
Emmitt Smith's coming out of retirement. Everyone wants to play for Tom Brady.
Lawrence Taylor.
What's your walk-off for the day?
Like I started to go for the Cubs sweep, but also Saturday night, big UFC championship between Masvidal and Usman. It's a rematch of over the summer where Usman won and has retained the belt ever since. So that's going to be a heavyweight battle. If Saturday you're done with your baseball and all that, try to catch some UFC Saturday night.
I understood like 3 of those words.
It's a big one. It's a round 2 matchup of 2 of the top fighters in UFC.
I tried so hard to get into UFC, especially during the shutdown, and they were one of the first ones to come back. And I watched it a little bit. I actually went out to a bar with a buddy of mine last summer, and I watched it. And I can't get into it. I don't know what it is, but it's not as good as a good old-fashioned boxing match to me. In when you get a great heavyweight boxing match, there's nothing better in sports, but they ruined that sport for a lot of people because of all the nonsense Don King did in the late 90s where it became literally like a WWE show. No offense to you.
Hey, no offense taken.
No offense to the wrestling fans, but it felt like it was more of a show than when boxing was in its heyday from the 80s into the early 90s. Like, it was the greatest thing ever. And I would drop money to watch that. I can't convince myself to pay to watch UFC. So I don't see the really big bouts. So it means I don't get into the other bouts.
Which is fair.
I don't remember what bout it was, but there was a bout that if you bought ESPN Plus, if you bought through ESPN Plus, you got ESPN Plus for the entire season. So let's say if they charge $60 for the entire year, if you bought this bout, you would get ESPN Plus for the entire year, and this big headline bout for $65. So it was an extra $5. I was like, at that point, I knew I was getting back into the Plus because of college baseball. When I was like, I might as well go ahead and do it. And we had people over, we watched it. And I was just like, this sucks. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I can't get into it. I wish I could. I think one of the problems that I have is when they let them just hold each other and they just stand there and hold each other. I want to see more action.
There's a lot of, feeling each other out when you see the highlights, you think people are killing each other, but in reality, a lot of the time is figuring the guy out. So I can understand
it's a tough sport. I don't question it. I just wish I could get more into it. But people have tried, and you got to watch this. Like, yeah, I've tried watching it, man.
It's not for you.
Maybe that's just the boring guy in me. I'd rather watch. I'd rather watch a baseball game, or I think I'm more into team sports regardless. But I don't know. All right, we'll get out of here. My walk off is I think I'm going to put a cork in me before I say something even worse today. So we'll see you tomorrow. I'll try to do better.
I'll cancel myself for the week.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know.